welcome to Hoops Tonight here at The Volume. Happy Sunday, everybody. Hope all of you guys are having an incredible weekend so far. Got a jam-packed show for you guys today. We are going to be doing an instant reaction to Clippers versus the Mavs, as well as an instant reaction to the Heat versus the Celtics. And then at the tail end of the show, we're going to do a film session that I did this morning off of the Lakers-Nuggets game one. So those of you guys who are waiting for the Indiana Pacers-Bucks breakdown, that's going to be with Colin Cowherd. We're going with Colin Cowherd tonight. That is going to cover basically the entire weekend, but we're going to start by covering Pacers-Bucks. So that'll be in tonight's show. Also, the Thunder-Pelicans game we're covering on Monday morning. So this game, Celtics Heat, Clippers, Mavs, Lakers, Nuggets film session. I also have some data I want to share with you guys surrounding the great conspiracy theory about the Los Angeles Lakers getting too many calls and not getting calls on the other end. So we're going to do a little bit of that at the end. You guys know the joke. Before we get started, subscribe to our brand new YouTube channel so you don't miss any more of our videos. Follow me on Twitter at _JasonLT so you guys don't miss any show announcements, as well as the film threads that I do from time to time. Don't forget about our podcast feed, wherever you get your podcasts, under Hoops Tonight. And then last but not least, keep dropping mailbag questions in the YouTube comments so we can keep hitting them throughout the rest of this season. All right, let's talk some basketball. So, one of the things that I think is important to acknowledge when we get into the playoffs is that winning game one is important for sure. There's roughly like a 1 in 4 chance that if you lose game one, you'll come back to win the series. But that 1 in 4 chance does happen. Happened twice in the first round last year with the Suns and the Warriors coming back to win after losing game one. So not all is lost if you drop game one, and sometimes we get funky results. And so just remember, it's a long series. Winning game one is important, not the end all be all. I don't see really any point in admitting being wrong or right about anything until we make it further along in the series. And for the record, fully expect to be right about some stuff in this playoff run and fully expect to be wrong about some stuff in this playoff run. The parity in the NBA is beautiful right now. It's part of what makes this so interesting, right? And on that note, let's get into a really weird game one. Mavs versus the Clippers. The Clippers just come out and bring a massive amount of intensity from the opening tip. I thought the Mavs looked completely caught off guard by it. And you could just see it in the first two possessions, the first possession for either team. Dallas dribbles up the floor. Luka works through a couple of switches and settles for a step back three. Very passive offensive possession. Other end of the floor, James Harden runs a ball screen, gets screaming downhill. Nice kick out pass to Paul George in the corner, misses the three. But Terrence Mann out of the right corner as Kyrie Irving just kind of turns and wanders into the lane looking for the rebound. Terrence Mann comes flying in out of the weak side corner, grabs the offensive rebound, kicks it out to Amir Coffey at the top of the key, and he hits a three. That kind of set the tone for what was a massive gap in physicality and effort between these two teams to start the game. The Clippers athletes were just super locked in and did a ton of damage to a Mavs team that I frankly thought didn't look ready to play. I didn't think they looked ready for the level of intensity that this playoff environment was going to bring. One of the big early trends, and if we dig past the intensity stuff and get into some of the basketball details, one of the big early trends that I thought was a very encouraging thing for the Los Angeles Clippers was Ivica Zubac. He's just way too big for Daniel Gafford, and in general is going to present a physicality mismatch for the Mavericks underneath the basket. They went to him early in the post, and he drew a foul on Gafford. Then they went back to him 2 possessions later, and Zubac just back down, easy basket with his left hand right underneath the basket. Very next possession, they do the exact same thing on the right block. Back down, easy right under the basket. These aren't hook shots or difficult touch shots, the crazy stuff that you see Jokic make. Literally, Zubac was just bullying Gafford underneath the rim and putting it right in, and shots that he's going to make 100% of the time. As a matter of fact, I thought Zubac's paint dominance was one of the biggest stories of the game. He was great protecting the rim on defense. We talked about the post-ups just a second ago, but he was also great on the offensive glass. And it kind of takes you to one of the big themes of this particular game, which was the Clippers getting a ton of dribble penetration, hunting Luka Doncic in switches. And then basically once that dribble penetration would occur, guys would have to step up and to help. And then Zubac, and many guys were benefiting from this, but one of the ways that Zubac was benefiting from this was just being underneath the basket, grabbing those offensive rebounds and putting them back in after one of the rim protectors for Dallas would have to step up on a drive that would start out of the defense getting compromised at the point of attack through attacking Luka. But credit to Zubac, because he's just a really, really good basketball player, and he's a bad matchup for Dallas in this series, and it's something that they're going to have to deal with as a team. There's no individual on their team that can hang with him physically, so it's going to have to be a team effort. So that's the next question. How was Zubac getting those free opportunities underneath the rim in offensive rebound situations? The Clippers getting dribble penetration. It actually started on a couple of transition cross matches. Both James Harden and Paul George got an early transition cross match. Now, I've mentioned this a lot in the last couple of days because we talked about it in the Nuggets-Lakers series, right? A transition cross match, to put it simply, is that in a broken play, so a missed shot or a long rebound, a turnover, whatever it is that leads to a transition push, transition defense principles take priority over your typical matchups, right? So like stop the ball, get to the rim, then spread out. You always want to prioritize transition defense principles over your normal matchups, because it doesn't matter if you get matched up on the right guys if you leave somebody open for a wide open three or a dunk because you're not back in transition, right? So we had a couple of early transition cross matches where in transition defense, Luka got matched up with James Harden and Paul George, and both times, both guys just toasted him off the dribble and got the defense in rotation. And I don't know if that kind of set the tone or if that's something Ty Lue was planning anyway, because from that point forward, they went out of their way to match up on. This has always been a Ty Lue thing. I've seen it with the Lakers too, where every time he plays the Lakers, he's just trying to attack Austin Reeves every single time down the floor. It's just like a consistent thing that they look to do, right? Ty Lue is big into matchup hunting, and he's got the right roster for it with all these guys that can beat matchups, right? But the Clippers went heavy into targeting Luka, and it was just the same kind of thing over and over again. A brush screen shortly after James Harden or Paul George crossed half court to get Luka onto one of those guys, and then they beat him off the dribble and just play drive and kick basketball from there. Or like we talked about with the Suns, advantage basketball, right? And that was pretty much the gist of what got the Clippers going offensively in this game. And so I didn't pull a ton of clips from this game because I wanted to get this video out as soon as possible. We'll do a deeper film session during the week this week. But I pulled about 6 clips to kind of go over some specific examples of that dynamic. So we'll go over that here in just a couple of minutes. But they honestly, like, it was an issue. It was a big time issue for the Mavs that Luka just kept getting caught at the point of attack, and the Clippers were able to get dribble penetration. So now, what's the counter there? If you're Jason Kidd, what do you do to protect Luka and to protect your defense from him getting hunted? This is where it comes down to game plan discipline. So there is a specific counter that most teams use in the league for this predicament. Because guess what? There's a lot of teams in the league that have a guy in their starting lineup that you prefer not get caught in a specific matchup out on the perimeter, right? And when it comes to perimeter defenders that are weak links, generally it's a hedge and recover. So what that means is, as the guy's coming off of that screen looking to get to Luka, Luka will show high and cut off that driving lane and then recover back to the guy he's guarding, right? Now, the key there is to put him on a guy who's not a great movement shooter, preferably not a great shooter at all. But if you have to pick a guy, you want to pick a guy who's not a great movement shooter. The example I used here is the way that Denver countered this last year in the Western Conference Finals when LeBron and Austin were targeting Jamal Murray in hedge and recover situations. Austin's a really good movement shooter who could slip out of that and hit a three. So they put Jamal Murray on Dennis Schroeder, because Dennis Schroeder, while he can hit standstill catch and shoot threes, was not a guy who could quickly slip out of a screening action, get his feet set, and quickly elevate and get a shot off. And so from there, that allowed Denver to effectively protect Jamal Murray. That's what Dallas has to do with Luka Doncic. Generally speaking, the Clippers are going to have one of Russell Westbrook or Terrence Mann on the floor. Terrence Mann is a much better shooter, obviously, than Russell Westbrook, but he's not a movement shooter. He's not a guy that's going to fly off of screens or quickly get his feet set and rise and fire, right? And so that's the opportunity for Dallas. They've got to avoid and this is where it comes down to game plan discipline. You got to get back in transition, avoid transition cross matches because you're doomed on arrival when that happens. But as long as Luka is back on defense with the team in a set configuration and he's on Terrence Mann or Russell Westbrook, there's no reason in the world why he can't hedge to cut the driving lane off and recover back to his man to stop those switches from happening. And as you'll see on the film here in a minute, they were just way too willing to concede that switch. And then the defensive breakdowns just kind of waterfalled from there. And it was a big time issue. Also, the Clippers had a great James Harden game. He got his confidence hitting pull-up jump shots over Luka, and then he started to hit the tougher ones later on. The big thing with James Harden, though, is going to be about consistency. He had a couple of games last year in the postseason. I think it was one against Boston and one against Philly, if I remember correct. Or excuse me, one against Boston, and then I think they were both against Boston. Yeah, they were both against Boston. But in the two Boston games, he had these like crazy performances where he looked more or less like this and actually hit game winners in those games. And I think he crested 40 points in both games too. But then he was bad in just about every other game after that. So again, great game for James Harden, but he had great games last year too. It's going to be about consistency for him. The Mavs offense, they had just an 88 offensive rating in the half court in this game, according to Cleaning the Glass. Exactly what I expected from the Clippers in the game plan. They were super aggressive, loading up on pick and roll 3 and 2, double teaming a lot in ISO situations, and basically daring on the weak side, Maxi Kleber, PJ Washington, Derek Jones Jr., Dante Exum, those guys to be decisive and effective on offense on the weak side. And that was a big part of what slowed down Dallas's offense. And it allowed the on-ball defenders to get more physically or forward aggressive, I should say, to press up on pull-up jumpers because they had so much backside help. And the Mavs just did not have a good pull-up shooting game. And it was a shooting variance game for sure. Obviously, the Luka and Kyrie couldn't make a pull-up shot to save their lives in the first half. And Paul George and James Harden were making a bunch, right? So like there's a certain amount of variance at play there. But generally speaking, as you guys have heard me say on the show a million times, I believe in shooting luck. But shooting luck is usually a smaller factor than actual basketball things that are taking place. And in this case, the Clippers were applying great ball pressure to make those pull-up jump shots difficult. And they were making up for it by loading up off of weak shooters on the weak side. So before we go any further, I want to go look at the film because I think this will be a better way for us to kind of explain some of the things we're talking about here. So this is an example. This first play here is an example in the first quarter of the Clippers trying to hunt Luka Doncic with guard screens at the beginning of possessions. So as you can see, James Harden's going to bring the ball up the floor. Russell Westbrook brings the ball up the floor, but he's going to get it to James Harden. This is just a way to avoid ball pressure. There's no reason to have James Harden dribble up against full court pressure if Russ can just walk it up, right? That's just about saving energy. So Russ makes the kick pass to James Harden. Now from here, as you can see where my mouse is, Amir Coffey is being guarded by Luka Doncic. So Amir Coffey is going to come up, set the screen. Watch how the Mavs just basically concede this switch. Okay, the switch is conceded. Now James Harden has the floor spaced, and he's going to just beat Luka off the dribble and draw his man into help. We got a dribble combination, a crossover between the legs, gets downhill, draws in Maxi Kleber, kick out to Russell Westbrook in the right corner for the wide open 3. And you're going to say, oh, but that's Russell Westbrook. Yes, but it wasn't just Russ that was benefiting from this, as you guys will see here in a minute. This is how James Harden got his step back jump shot going. Comes off of this same sort of screen. Amir Coffey, Luka Doncic in too far back. James Harden gets downhill, brings some pace, gets into his chest. Easy step back, tons of separation. That's a really good look for James Harden to get into a rhythm. Then we're going to get the exact same thing on the very next clip here. Screen from Amir Coffey. Luka's going to end up switched onto James Harden. And look at how far back Luka is. He's so far back here. This is comfortable stuff. Like, remember, James Harden doesn't just go into the playoffs and play poorly because he's scared of the moment or any of those things. He struggles because the physicality, the intensity, and the on-ball defense gets so much better. And then he struggles. If you let him get comfortable, he's going to make shots. And here he's getting comfortable against Luka and getting into his rhythm. So then when he makes the really difficult, tough step back over Maxi Kleber at the end of the first quarter, let's remember that those two things are connected because that's a big part of how a player builds his rhythm and builds his confidence. Here's one more example to show you guys. This was in the second half. So again, Paul George being guarded by Maxi Kleber. Luka Doncic being guarded by Terrence Mann. Now, what I'm advocating for here is a hedge and recover. So Luka should step out, cut off the driving lane, and then as Terrence Mann slips, he just has to recover short, and Terrence probably won't shoot that on the move. Instead, they just say, screw it, let's switch. So that's conceding the switch way too easily, and I hope that kind of breaks down for you guys what I'm expecting in terms of an adjustment. That needs to be a hedge and recover. There's no reason why you should just allow Luka to sit in single coverage against Paul George. Paul George is going to easily toast him off the dribble with the crossover move, and he's going to try to dunk. Now we're going to talk about the concept that I was talking about earlier with the Ivica Zubac, right? So he's in the dunker spot. He's loading up to get ready to get in position once these guys help. They both help. Whoops, what full screen? They both help. Paul George elevates. Gafford gets him up top. Amazing defensive play. Really good defense there by the back line. Problem is, Zubac is just right there for the easy cleanup. Again, that's once you've given up a straight line drive, especially off of dribble penetration like that, no matter what you do on the back line, you're in a really tough spot. And if you were to break it down to points by possession, even for teams that do a good job, the points by possession on possessions when you're in rotation versus when you're loaded up are going to be dramatically higher. And that's just an example of that. And again, there's an easy schematic fix there with the hedge and recover that Dallas absolutely has to implement when we get into game 2. All right, this next 2 clips that I wanted to show you guys primarily just have to do with the way they're loading up on Luka and Kyrie and leaving guys open on the weak side. All right, so we have this Kyrie Irving ball screen here with Derek Lively. Notice how the Clippers are defending at 3-on-2. So Russ is chasing over the top. Kyrie's going downhill. Zubac is in high drop coverage, right? Or excuse me, Plumlee. Why is Plumlee able to come out this high? He's able to come out this high because Paul George is right here. Paul George is there if Derek Lively rolls to be the low man, right? Now, Plumlee has Kyrie contained. Russ is in pursuit. It's effectively a double team, so it's not like Kyrie can hit a counter move here. If he does, he's just going to run into Russ, right? Lively's rolling downhill. And we're going to get a swing back pass to Luka with a closeout from Terrence Mann. This is a decent look because Terrence Mann's slow in rotation. And like I said, there was shot variance at play. Luka and Kyrie didn't shoot particularly well. But this is an example of a simple load up type of action. Now let's look at the weak side, okay? On the weak side there, who are our 2 shooters? I've got Norman Powell guarding PJ Washington, an iffy shooter, and Derek Jones Jr., an iffy shooter. And that's going to be a dynamic that the Clippers are going to live with all series long. Now let's look at one more example. We're going to get a Luka Doncic ISO on the right wing here against Amir Coffey. Russell Westbrook is coming with a hard double team. Norman Powell is going to rotate up high to Dante Exum. Here we have that exact same dynamic. We have James Harden defending 1-on-2 against PJ Washington and Maxi Kleber. What I want you guys to pay attention here when I press play again is watch the way James Harden closes out at Maxi Kleber. He sits in the passing lane because he's baiting. He has no problem with him shooting that, but if he second guesses himself and throws the swing pass, he's going to knock it away. He's daring him to take that shot, and we're going to get a bad miss off the back of the rim. That's going to be a consistent dynamic that the Clippers are going to employ for basically the rest of this series. And so the 2 major chess pieces that Dallas has to figure out for game 2 are basically how are they going to deal with the Clippers loading up on all their actions? And it's going to come down to a couple things. It's shot making for the stars and shot making for those role players. What that means is Kyrie and Luka are going to have to make a lot of shots over the top, because that's a great counter for bad spacing. And these spacing problems are a product of the types of players that are on the floor, right? But basically, Kyrie and Luka are going to have to make their over-the-top shots. That's going to be a huge part in this series. They did better in the second half, but it was pretty bad there in that first half. And then the second piece of it is you need those weak side guys, PJ Washington, Kleber, and Derek Jones. You need them to at least convert those a little over a point per possession, either driving closeouts, hitting those threes when they get those opportunities. They have to find a way to be effective because that Clippers coverage is not going to allow them to just waltz in the paint or work in one-on-one situations. And so again, the second piece of it, the second big adjustment is just finding a way to protect Luka. Like I said, the hedge and recover is the easy coverage kind of counter for that. But game plan discipline is going to be key. Avoiding transition cross matches, making sure that you actually do the hedge and recover properly every time. And if you do, they should be able to prevent Luka from giving up those drives. If they can slow down the Clippers' dribble penetration and shoot better, that dynamic's going to flip, and Dallas has a good chance to win game 2. I believe Dallas will win game 2. We'll see when we get there. The 82-game preseason is in the books, and now it's finally time for the real season. Don't miss out on any of the NBA playoff action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. From the play-in tournament through the finals, DraftKings Sportsbook has you covered with same-game parlays, live betting, odds boosts, and so much more. The Boston Celtics are currently the favorite at plus 160, but the team that's third in my championship rankings, the Dallas Mavericks, you can get them on DraftKings right now at plus 1,600 to win the title. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code HOOPS. That's HOOPS. New customers bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. That's code HOOPS, HOOPS, only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. All right, moving on to Heat-Celtics. So we're not going to spend too much time on this series. This is by far the worst series in the first round. To give you an idea, the odds in this series coming in were the Celtics minus 3,000, according to DraftKings. That was the only 4-digit odds that we had in the first round. And 6 of the 8 series were minus 310 or closer. So basically, the Celtics are 10 times the favorite to beat Miami than 6 of the 8 first-round favorites are. So this series is more or less just, it doesn't matter what schematic things happen. It doesn't really matter what anybody does. Boston's just going to win because they're a lot better. So Boston could have 2 of their stars sit out the rest of the series, and they would probably win this series convincingly. It's just too much of a talent mismatch. The Celtics came out dead serious. They jumped up 14-0. I talked about in our series preview how I really want Boston to handle the kind of like a gimmicky stuff that Eric Spoelstra does well. And so Eric Spoelstra went to a bunch of zone in the first half. He ran 8 possessions of it in the first half, and they scored total in the game 14 points on 9 zone possessions. And a big part of that was they were just attacking it in really smart ways. Immediately, as soon as Miami went zone, Boston looked like they knew what to do. They started by screening the top man. So they just have Tatum dribble on the left wing. Al Horford would come and set a screen, and he would just basically drive off of it, engage the next top guy in the zone, and swing it over. Peyton Pritchard hit a 3 like that in the first possession that they ran it. Another thing they did that I thought was really smart is they started having Tatum post up the corner man. So think of a 2-3. There's 2 guys in the corner, 2 guys in the top, 1 guy underneath the basket, right? And generally speaking, you're trying to get the defense to lean one way or another so that you can find openings either cutting along the baseline or in the middle of the floor or on the weak side, right? So one of the things they were doing is they were just throwing the ball to Tatum in the left corner and having him post up the corner man. And he would back down and back down and back down until he brought the bottom man in and the top man in. So like the top man would like come down and double, and then the bottom man would kind of slide into that like backside help position right behind there. And then they were able to get the ball easily across the floor for wide open threes. And this is where Sam Hauser got going. He hit 3 of his threes on skip passes out of Boston's zone offense. They lit it on fire, and then Miami only tried it once in the second half. So I thought that was a really strong indicator of just Boston being prepared and serious and being prepared for those gimmicky things like I talked about before the series. Tatum was great. He had 10 assists. I thought he just took his responsibility of initiating the offense very seriously and did a great job. He was making post entries. We talked about the skip passes against the zone. Also, late in the game when they put Bam Adebayo on him, he just started using physically aggressive moves to draw second defenders and making kick-out passes. Just a really good game management type of game from Tatum, even though he didn't shoot particularly well. Boston had 6 players in double figures. They led by as many as 34 points. Again, Miami's just not going to be able to hang with Boston from a talent perspective in this series. I talked about on the Miami front, I talked about just like kind of keeping an eye and talent evaluation on some of these guys. I thought Bam was really good. He had 24 points, hit a bunch of jump shots, not just like easy short jump shots in the short roll, but he also like hit a couple of tough turnaround fadeaways over Kristaps Porzingis. I thought those were strong indicators of Bam's skill development. And then Jaime Jaquez had 16 points, was doing a really good job attacking the smaller Boston guards in the post, then did some work in pick and roll, like did a good job getting downhill and then setting up his turnaround fadeaway when he's already got that downhill kind of momentum going. Just really, really good first playoff game for him. And then Tyler Herro really struggled. It's just you got a tough matchup in this series. You're getting 2 outstanding perimeter defenders in Drew Holiday and Derek White. And he just struggled to break free. He got blocked twice, once by Jaylen Brown and once by Derek White on like a straight ISO kind of thing. And then even when he was getting open, he wasn't hitting the open looks until basically garbage time. But so we're not going to spend a ton of time on this series for obvious reasons. There's just not a whole lot to learn. I don't unfortunately think we're going to learn too much about Boston until we get to the conference finals, but really good win. And for what you can stand to learn from Boston in this type of environment, it was a good first appearance in the postseason this year. All right, before we get out of here today, we're going to talk a little bit about the Lakers-Nuggets series. So one of the things I talked about last night, if you guys remember, is the fact that the Lakers have some bad habits that have been around all season long, and they reared their ugly head in a big game. And one of the things I talked about last night is believe teams when they tell you who they are. And what I mean when I say that is your habits are what carry you when the shit hits the fan late in the season, right? That's something I talk about all the time. But that doesn't just go for good habits, that goes for bad habits. If you have a bad habit of losing sight of execution details when another team is on a run, then you're going to run into a good team in a playoff series. They're going to go on a run. Your execution will tail off and the run will be catastrophic. That was an issue all season long for the Lakers. These brief little 2 or 3 minute stretches where they'd let go of the rope and get blitzed, and either leads would disappear or they'd have be in a game where it's tied and suddenly they'd be down double figures. This was an issue all year long, and it was a big part of game 1 against Denver. As a matter of fact, the Lakers blew this game. They were super competitive with Denver throughout, except for 2 stretches. There was a 10-0 run in less than 2 minutes in the middle of the second quarter, and a 13-0 run in 3.5 minutes in the middle of the third quarter. And so I wanted to go into the film just to show you guys exactly how bad the Lakers' offensive execution and defensive execution was when they were in this stretch. And one of the things I want you to keep in mind, LeBron actually talked about this after the game in his presser. He said, every championship team he's been on has had attention to detail. And, you know, I want to be clear because LeBron has some guilt here. You're going to see, when I went back to look at the film, I actually think LeBron was the primary driving force for both of these ugly stretches. And LeBron has a tendency to kind of get fatigued after he kind of goes on a crazy run where he plays really hard. And he did, like, literally for a quarter and a half, LeBron was guns blazing. And then he got tired and it was really bad for a couple of minutes, just literally 2 minutes. And it was a 10-0 run. And then in the second half, same sort of thing. And so, like, ironically, LeBron's right in the sense that the Lakers' lack of attention to detail is the opposite of a hallmark of a champion, right? But he also shares some blame for that predicament with the Lakers. So let's get into the film here again. So this is out of a timeout, if I remember correctly. The Lakers are up by 12, right? So this is the position in the game where the Lakers have been playing really well. And they've been playing really well, but one of 2 things can happen here. You can either keep your foot on the gas and try to maintain the lead / build the lead / whatever it is you're going to do to get out of here with the win, or you can immediately relax. And as soon as the Lakers get it to 12, we're going to get a relax right away. Watch LeBron here in the weak side corner against Michael Porter Jr. Watch Michael Porter Jr. cut up to the top of the key and watch LeBron relax. So LeBron, look, falling asleep, on his heels, Michael Porter Jr. runs up and gets a good look at a catch and shoot 3 because LeBron's not paying attention. Watch the first step. It's literally the first step that does him in here. He's not engaged. He's not paying attention. Michael gets just a little bit of a running start on him, and then LeBron's completely out of position. See that? See how that just that little bit of a delay, but before LeBron actually takes a step, Michael's already going. That gap can't happen. When we talk about lock and trail defense, it literally means lock and trail. It means you are locked on the backside of the offensive player and trailing them over the screen. This is bad lock and trail defense. And all it was is, once again, LeBron relaxed for a split second, got up to 12, and instead of taking that as an opportunity to get more serious, he got more relaxed. This is the very next possession. This was just a bad call. I didn't like this call. So LeBron goes and sets a back screen on KCP and then slips out of it. LeBron doesn't even actually hit KCP. He just slips out of the screen. But right as he's slipping, KCP takes like a really aggressive backward steps and runs into LeBron. That's incidental contact. That shouldn't have been a foul. It was a bad call. But bad calls happen in NBA games. It is what it is. But the turnovers became a problem for the Lakers. So Reggie Jackson's going to miss a little floater over Spencer Dinwiddie here. They're going to push out the other way. And, you know, one of the things we're going to talk about at the end of the show here, I'm going to talk with you guys about the Lakers kind of free throw discrepancy thing. And I did some digging into some numbers to essentially prove that it's completely unremarkable that the Lakers are a good free throw disparity team, which we'll get to in a minute. But I've talked about often on the show that it's actually a net negative for the Lakers in some ways. Anthony Davis is a grifter. Austin Reeves is a grifter. So they're constantly trying to hunt the whistle. And they will take unusual shots that are not normal basketball shots to try to draw fouls. And what will happen is they'll miss the shot, not get the call, and then they'll get barbecued in transition the other way. Here's a good example. So AD's got Michael Porter Jr. on him. And instead of making a physically aggressive move to the rim, he's going to flop and try to draw a foul. And then there's no call. And then he starts jogging and kind of yelling at the ref a little bit, worried about his elbow. And then watch as we go the other way, we're going to get a transition cross match. So again, AD is supposed to be on Gordon. LeBron is supposed to be on MPJ. And actually in this configuration, Rui's here. So Rui is supposed to be on Jokic, right? So as a result of this, everyone's in a cross match. Now Anthony Davis is on Michael Porter Jr. LeBron James is on Aaron Gordon. Austin Reeves is on Jokic. And because of that, they have no choice but to kind of load up to deal with Jokic on Reeves, which opens up an easy skip pass for Aaron Gordon to the weak side corner to Reggie Jackson. So again, flop, no call, transition, easy bucket. So for every time AD falls and he gets foul shots, this has to be factored in as well as part of that equation and what comes out of it. Here's the very next offensive possession for the Lakers. What stands out to you here? Again, LeBron's tired. We're down to 6 here. And by the way, I want to be clear. Runs happen in basketball games. I'm not sitting here pretending like you're just going to dominate the entire game and there's never going to be a stretch that the other team is going to be able to put some points together, especially a championship team in Denver who's better than you. Like, they're going to go on runs. The difference is you have to find a way to make that 10-0 run into a 7-2 run, or a 13-0 run into a 10-6 run. You have to find a way to mitigate that as best as you can. It can't be a complete and total collapse on both ends of the floor. Here we go. The Nuggets just got back-to-back buckets, right? A 3 for Reggie Jackson and a 3 for Michael Porter Jr. We had an AD turnover and we had a LeBron turnover, even though it was a bad call. And you could make a case AD got fouled, but he was kind of grifting a little bit. So this is where you have to execute. And instead, LeBron throws this lazy-ass pocket pass. And again, when you throw the pocket pass, you have to get over the screen and engage the rim protector. LeBron does neither and just throws it. Both Aaron Gordon and Jokic have their hands down in the shooting pocket. And so when this pass goes, it has no chance of going through. Now it's a pick 6 the other way for Aaron Gordon in an easy dunk. So again, like that possession is the possession where you have to execute and get a good shot. And LeBron James, your best player, just threw a stupid pocket pass that had no chance of going through and ends up being a turnover and a pick 6 the other way. That's a gap in execution. That's attention to detail that falls on LeBron's plate in this case. We're going to get a similar kind of lack of aggression here from LeBron on Jamal Murray. So LeBron's going to get the switch with the Austin Reeves 2-man game. He's got Jamal on him. He needs to make a physically aggressive move, and instead he takes this turnaround right shoulder fade, which, by the way, he's been missing. I went over this on the show the other day. But right shoulder fades on the left side of the floor out of the post for LeBron. He's been making it 26% this season. This is not a good shot. Jamal Murray literally blocks him, okay? Block happens. Now watch the transition possession for the Nuggets. I want you to watch LeBron and AD and watch these 5 guys. Watch the difference in their initial sprint at the transition opportunity. This is going to be jarring. Watch this. See that? Oh, massive gap forms here. Why is that? Because these 2 guys are not taking their transition defense responsibilities seriously. And those 2 guys in particular, because they deal with Gordon and Jokic, it is abundantly important for them to get back. They're actually very fortunate that Michael Porter Jr., we'll see it again here. Look at that gap that immediately forms. That's a lack of urgency. LeBron and AD, shot goes up. They take a second to just kind of chill, while every Nugget knows as soon as the Lakers miss a layup, we are running. We are running every time. That is our chance to get an advantage. Michael Porter Jr. gets a really good look at a 3 on the left wing. He just happens to miss it. And what's crazy, too, is LeBron makes this crazy effort to sprint back into the play after the fact. That effort is not even a problem if you don't make that mistake to begin with at the start of the transition defense possession. Again, so now the Nuggets are on a run, right? This lead is back to 4. Your 12-point lead is almost gone. Time to execute, right? No, we're going to get a break rhythm, pump fake pull-up 3 from D'Angelo Russell that he airballs. See, Again, like the Lakers are at their best offensively, and we're going to see an example here in a few minutes. They're at their best offensively when they settle down, run their sets, get into an advantage situation, and play with their aggregate offensive talent. And they just have not done that yet in this sequence. They haven't had a single good offensive possession in this entire sequence. And then this last possession for the Nuggets is the end of the 10-0 run. So they're on an 8-0 run at this point. We're going to get Rui is on Jamal in a transition cross match, and AD's on Jokic. So they're just going to switch it, which is fine. But one of the things that Rui does on the switch is he decides to front the post. Now, as soon as you decide to front the post, what's the other half of that coverage? This is something I've talked with you guys a lot about with the Miami Heat because they did a really good job of doing this in the NBA Finals last year. From here, Aaron Gordon's underneath the basket. LeBron James is the guy who has to be up here so that when Jamal throws this over the top pass, LeBron James can be there either on the catch to prevent a deep catch or to force a turnover here. And then it's on D'Lo and Austin to navigate these three guys. And they're not very well spaced. D'Lo can drop here and box out Aaron Gordon. Austin can easily rotate to these two guys. So literally LeBron just has to do his job in the game plan here. Rui's fronting. I have to bracket from behind. Instead, LeBron is slow. Notice he doesn't start moving until after the pass. So Jokic catches deep and he easily hits that little shot underneath the basket. So again, they went up 12. Opportunity to try to maintain control of the game. And in 2 minutes, less than 2 minutes, they barbecued 10 of those 12 points away with repeated bad offensive possessions and poor defensive execution. That Denver just keeps playing and just keeps executing. You let go of the rope for a couple of minutes and disaster strikes. And it's been a consistent theme for the Lakers all season long. Let's fast forward to the second half. Okay, so now we're looking at the LeBron's going to miss this free throw, and it's a 1-point game here. Okay. Denver's first offensive possession. This is just really, really good offensive execution. You're going to see an example of what's called a pin-in flare. Okay. So we got Jokic in the post. We have Spencer Dinwiddie guarding Nikola Jokic. We have Jokic catch in the post, and we're going to get a double team from Spencer Dinwiddie one pass away, right? So this is our 3-on-2 on the weak side. This is like a little triangle here, right? So we have AD is effectively the low man. He's underneath the basket. Austin's got your 2-on-1 here, right? But Michael Porter Jr. is sliding up this way, and so Austin has to close out. Aaron Gordon is going to set what's called a pin-in flare here. So his one job is to set a back screen on AD so that he can't close out to KCP. Now when Jokic throws the pass, watch. AD turns, and he's trying to close out on KCP. Watch Aaron Gordon screen him. Boom. Wide open three for KCP. So really, really good offensive execution from Denver on that one. So Denver makes a three. They have a 4-point lead. What are you doing here if you're the Lakers? This is where you need to settle down and get a really good offensive possession in and execute to get a good look. AD's tired. LeBron's tired. They've been working hard all game, right? AD is going to start floating around the 3-point line. Spencer drives, kicks to Austin. AD backs out to the 3-point line. They run a little Austin-LeBron 2-man game. They actually switched this. Look at Aaron Gordon. Aaron Gordon drops down with Austin Reeves. There's 13 on the shot clock. As soon as that switch happens, Jamal's wanting to hedge and recover, but because Aaron Gordon goes with the slip, the matchup is there now. LeBron has the matchup. All he needs to do is get his dribble back, right? And in order to get his dribble back, all he needs to do is basically just throw a pass to Spencer Dinwiddie and get the ball back. Instead, he swings it across the court to Anthony Davis, who is a bad 3-point shooter, who for whatever reason is floating around the 3-point shot and is going to take a shot that he's probably going to miss the vast majority of the time. Now, if you remember, they just got burned with Rui in single coverage off of a double team. Excuse me, not in single coverage, off of a double team. Now they're going to leave Rui in single coverage. Jokic is going to easily score. Okay. Some of this is just Denver. Denver's going to do this. They're a better team than the Lakers. They're going to have runs like this where they get baskets. That is why the offensive execution is so important for the Lakers on the other end of the floor. We go right back down now. Okay. Now Denver's up 6. All right, Lakers, let's see if we can execute and get a really good shot. This is what happens. We get a Rui screen that leads to the Michael Porter Jr. switch. LeBron just kind of dribbles around on the perimeter. Nothing's going on. He picks up his dribble for whatever reason. AD's right here sitting at the elbow as an easy outlet. That pass is there, and LeBron literally just throws the ball out of bounds. Again, like you're starting to see that, LeBron was really good outside of these two runs. Like really, really good. On both ends, he was great defensively. He was excellent offensively outside of this stretch. These two stretches where LeBron got tired and played bad basketball literally cost his team the game. They have to find a way to avoid these stretches. All right, our next one here is the Aaron Gordon misses a three in the corner. Lakers go down. So you get gifted another chance off of Aaron Gordon missing a three. You get gifted another chance here to try to have a good offensive possession. And we're going to get a bad read from Taurean Prince in the Lakers 5 out here. So we get a AD screen and slip. That brings this tag over, right? This is an example of what I was talking about earlier. Run your horn sets, run your 5-out sets, get the defense in rotation. They do that here, but Taurean Prince makes a mistake. So LeBron comes off the screen. Jokic is at the level. That forces KCP to tag. Now, we have a 2-on-1 on the weak side here. Swing pass to Taurean Prince. Boom. Extra pass. That's the read. Extra pass to D'Lo. And we're going to get a wide open catch and shoot three. Okay. Instead, Taurean drives it into the lane into a bunch of bodies and gets blocked. That's bad execution. That's a mistake that Denver doesn't make. Generally speaking, they're going to make that extra pass to the open shooter. Generally speaking, they're not going to over-penetrate and drive into all that traffic. That is a lack of execution. All right, this next one here, that bad read from Taurean Prince leads to the transition three from KCP, right? So off of that block, Denver running, once again, 5-on-3 break. Just watch again the way they run, man. Look at how Denver takes off as soon as the block happens. Let's back up a little bit. Watch the difference in the Lakers sprinting versus the Nuggets sprinting. Do you see that? Isn't that crazy? It's like this is like it's hard to believe that the defending champ in this particular case is outworking the team that is like desperate to not get embarrassed. It's legitimately hard to watch on film. All right, so we're finally going to get a good offensive possession from the Lakers here. Now, they did it 2 possessions in a row. They're running their sets now. The last possession, they ran their set. Taurean just botches the read, right? Here, we're going to get a screen into a dribble handoff. So D'Lo's going to come off and screen Aaron Gordon, and LeBron's going to come off of it this way, okay? So screen generates a little bit of separation for LeBron, okay? Jokic comes in the high drop. We get the tag from Christian Brown. The tag from Reggie Jackson and Christian Brown. But if Reggie Jackson tags harder, LeBron makes the read as Christian Brown is recovering out to D'Lo. He makes the read to Spencer Dinwiddie, throws the skip. Brown closes out. They get a wide open three. Okay. So again, we've gone through probably, 12, 13 Laker offensive possessions over the course of these 2 runs that we've been covering. This is the first one they got a great shot. This is the first one. How often do you see the Nuggets go a dozen possessions where they get one great shot? That again, the Lakers have the talent to be more competitive in this series. They just simply have to execute, and it's just a weakness of theirs. We're going to get another example here of KCP misses this three. And actually, there was a little bit of a hesitation from Taurean Prince. Watch Taurean Prince here as he sags off. KCP's red hot and has hit a bunch of threes, and he almost gives up another one here. Very fortunate that one missed. Going out the other way, once again, we're going to see Anthony Davis lingering around the three-point line. So if AD literally in this action just simply screens and rolls into that space, if LeBron comes downhill and engages Jokic and AD rolls, that's going to pull Gordon in all likelihood, or Reggie, and you're going to get that exact same weak side 2-on-1 that you just got, and you're going to get another wide open look for D'Lo. Instead, Anthony Davis pops to the three-point line, so nobody has to come in here. LeBron is now surrounded by 4 blue jerseys, and AD is going to take another three that he's not going to make because he's a below 30% three-point shooter. That's poor execution. You're just running offense to get bad shots. Go right down to the other end. D'Lo's on KCP. As we talked about earlier, KCP is on fire at this point. Has hit a bunch of threes. This is a lock and trail possession. Watch him. He's going to fall asleep and KCP is going to shoot up. Look, just that little hesitation, just like what happened to LeBron. It's just that little hesitation, being slow, and KCP gets all the way off of him and gets another catch and shoot three and makes it. Again, that is a lock and trail responsibility. You literally have to know that his next move is some sort of aggressive cut to get a shot, and you have to be locked up onto him the entire time. We're going to go to the other end of the floor. LeBron's going to force a really difficult pass here to Rui in traffic. It's going to get turned over the other way. And we're going to get, I think this is another cross match if I remember correctly. Actually, no, it's just a post-up of LeBron. So LeBron ends up on Jokic, and Jokic scores over him. And again, this one is not on the defense, but over the course of this run, it's primarily offensive execution that's been the issue. But here you go. That's a 13-0 run. This was a 1-point game. At the start of that possession, at the start of that sequence, it was a 1-point game. And now you're looking at a 14-point game in 3.5 minutes because you let go of the rope in terms of execution for a short bit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 6 more clips that I want to show you guys, just other notes of film from this game. This was the very next shot that the Lakers got. So 13-0 run. This is the shot that LeBron gets. So we have D'Lo screen to get Reggie switched on to Spencer Dinwiddie. Dinwiddie's going to set a screen on Aaron Gordon. We're going to get another switch. LeBron's got Reggie. LeBron has Reggie Jackson on him with 11 seconds left, and this is the shot LeBron gets. By the way, there's nobody digging down on the right-hand side. He could make an aggressive move here, most likely pull in Reggie Jackson or open up Rui on the weak side. He can generate a corner three with just a little bit of dribble penetration, and instead he takes this. Barely gets the front of the rim. Here's another kind of bad read from D'Angelo Russell in pick and roll. Gets downhill. Everyone's packed in the paint. Gabe Vincent's wide open on the weak side. He tries to shoot a shot on DeAndre Jordan, gets blocked. Then AD throws this gamble in the backcourt. Look at this gamble from AD here. So again, what have we talked about with the Nuggets? They're looking to run in transition. Transition defense is key for the Lakers. AD gambles in the backcourt. Now we have an advantage situation. As a result, we're going to get another cross match. So AD was originally on DeAndre Jordan. That's his matchup. If AD is on DeAndre Jordan, he can be sitting right down here, sitting in help, dealing with whatever aggressive move Jamal Murray makes. Jamal's been hitting this like hard spin move towards the baseline off of the left block all year long. It's one of my favorite post moves that he does. But typically, if there's backside help, this will be a fadeaway, and it turns into a shot he's going to make a little less than half the time. But instead, there's no help there because Anthony Davis is glued up on Michael Porter Jr. on the weak side, so he's able to make that aggressive move all the way to the basket. Now it's a layup instead of an Anthony Davis block or a tough turnaround jump shot. Here's another really bad offensive possession off the Peyton Watson miss. Again, this is just really bad execution. It's a 13-point game with 9 minutes left. This is still a game. We're going to get a little flare screen from Taurean Prince on Christian Brown. Austin's going to kind of catch around the logo. There's 17 seconds left. Run some offense. Nope, we're going to jack up a 30-footer that is way short. And then, once again, watch the transition defense here. AD gambles, walking. Again, this is not over. You would think the game is over with the body language from the Lakers here. They came down from 20 to beat the Clippers once this year in the fourth quarter. Now we're jogging. Now this is, if you're a Nuggets fan from last year and you imagine Bruce Brown in this spot, this is where Bruce Brown killed D'Lo last year. Jogging back in transition defense, slot drives in transition. Brown just bullies him, loses control of the basketball, and easily gets it back and puts it in. This is going to be a good Laker defensive possession where they get killed on the offensive glass. So screen, Austin fights. Austin gets gets back on Jamal. There's no advantage. We're going to get another screen here with Michael Porter Jr. We get a little bit of it looked like it was probably going to be a hedge and recover, but it turns into a switch. Austin gets back. We get a stunt from D'Lo, and Austin gets a contest. Still a decent look for Denver. But here we got this matchup underneath the basket here. Watch our matchup as the shot goes up. LeBron, right on the left block, ready for a rebound. AD, right on the right block, ready for a rebound. Again, 13-point game, 8 minutes left. This is there for the taking. Watch Christian Brown and DeAndre Jordan just flat out hustle LeBron and AD. Christian Brown comes in, somehow beats LeBron to the basketball, tips it up, and then DeAndre Jordan beats AD to it and taps it out. Now, this ends up being a turnover anyway, but that's just an example of like, that can't happen. That literally can't happen. Like, you're not good enough to beat Denver making that many mistakes. One little misread for the Lakers here in pick and roll from Anthony Davis. So Peyton Watson's on LeBron. We're going to get the ball screen to attack DeAndre Jordan. DeAndre Jordan's in a bit of a high drop. AD's going to catch. Boom. This is an easy read. Austin's open. Jamal's tagging the roller. Austin's open. Make that kick out pass. That's a good look. Instead, AD challenges everybody underneath the basket, misses. So to kind of put a bow on it, like again, when it comes down to the Lakers and their chances to win this series, they're slim to begin with. And the only pathway forward for the Lakers is they have to go toe-to-toe with the Denver as an execution team. If they do, some variance can come into play. What if AD does score over Jokic as easily did at the end of the game? What if LeBron does outplay Jamal Murray? What if Jamal Murray has more poor shooting nights like he did last night? What if you do get better shooting out of Austin and D'Lo? All of a sudden, a pathway starts to form. But it's a very, very, the way I presented it in the regular season is like there's a tiny crack in the door and there's somebody on the other side pushing it. They have the advantage. If you're going to blow through that crack, you literally have to be perfect, especially in terms of their execution. And when I went back and looked at the film this morning, I'm like there are these brief stretches where their execution gets so abysmally bad that they deliver these like haymakers to their chances to have any chance to contend in the game. And like, it's been a big problem for them all season. They've tried to tell us who they are. It was a frustrating film session to watch. All right. Last thing I wanted to hit today before we get out of here. So there's this prevailing narrative that's been flying around. And like literally last night, I think the Lakers had 19 free throws, which by the way is below their season average by a lot. But the Nuggets happened to have 6 free throws in this very physical basketball game, right? And so it became a thing again, right? Like the Los Angeles Lakers, they have this massive free throw differential. They are clearly benefiting from some sort of league-wide conspiracy to get the Lakers into position to win basketball games, even though they're bad at winning basketball games compared to some of their peers at the top of the league. So even if the league is trying to rig the Lakers into winning, it's just not happening for whatever reason. But, this has been one of the dumbest things that I can ever remember seeing in my time covering the NBA. You guys know, I am like never complain about officiating guy except in a league-wide context as it pertains to the way the game is officiated. But I think blaming the refs for anything involving your team outcome is a loser mentality. And generally speaking, it's not going to help you in any way. And almost always it's wishful thinking and not based on any evidence, right? So one of the things that I think gets lost in this, the Lakers do have a massive free throw differential, larger than anyone else in the rest of the league by a wide margin. That's a fact. Right? Here's what's also a fact. The Lakers are top 3 in both free throw attempts drawn and defending without fouling. Okay. There are teams that get a better whistle than the Lakers. Did you know that the Orlando Magic get a better whistle than the Los Angeles Lakers? They get to the foul line more frequently. The problem is they can't defend without fouling. So they don't have as much of a disparity. You know who's the best team in the league at defending without fouling? The Boston Celtics. As a matter of fact, they are second place in free throw differential. You want to know why there's a big gap? Because while the Lakers are top 3 in both, the Celtics are number 1 in defending without fouling, but they are 24th in getting to the foul line because they're a team that takes a ton of jump shots and doesn't put a lot of pressure on the rim and don't do a great job kind of grifting their way to the line. And so as a result, the Lakers have this big margin, and the margin for the next team, the Boston Celtics, the second place team, is not as big. But everyone wants to act like this is some sort of highly unusual thing. I want to show you guys a graphic to demonstrate this point. Do you guys see this mark right here? That's the free throw differential of the 2024 Los Angeles Lakers. Do you see this mark right here? This is the free throw differential for the 2018 Charlotte Hornets. Do you think it was a big scheme of the NBA to give the Charlotte Hornets a better chance to win NBA games? Did you know that neither the 2023 or the 2024 Lakers are even in the top 40 for free throw differential since the merger. There is absolutely nothing remarkable about the Lakers free throw differential except for the fact that it's the Los Angeles Lakers. That's the only remarkable thing about it. See this chart, guys? Every one of these pieces of data represents the team that led the league in free throw differential that year. There's nothing remarkable about these two Lakers teams. Nothing about it is remarkable. It's literally one of the dumbest things I've ever seen. The only reason they have a massive disparity is the majority of the teams in the league are either good at defending without fouling or good at getting to the line, but not both. And the Lakers are top 3 in both. That is the only thing that is driving that disparity. I swear, this Laker free throw conspiracy, it reminds me of election deniers in the sense that the only piece of evidence they have is they don't like the outcome. If this was literally the Denver Nuggets, which, by the way, the reason the Denver Nuggets aren't on this list as high is because they're bad at defending without fouling. They commit a lot of fouls, so they don't have a free throw disparity. That's why. But if it was the Denver Nuggets, who was top 3 in both categories and leading the league in free throw differential, the conversation would be, the actual conversation would just be, Mike Malone's an amazing coach, coaching this defense that doesn't foul. And my goodness, can Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic get the defense out of position and get to the line? The only thing remarkable about it is that it's the Lakers. And, I had a mailbag question from somebody today that was like, if you dig into the data, you'll see. This is the data, guys. This is the data. This is the reality of free throw differential around the league. The 2018 Charlotte Hornets, really good at defending without fouling, really good at getting to the foul line. Substantially more so than the Lakers. Literally 50% more effective as a differential team than this Lakers team. You probably couldn't even name who was on the 2018 Hornets roster. But because it's the Lakers, it's this big story. So hopefully that'll put that to rest. And guess what? I think the Lakers are going to lose the Denver Nuggets. And the reason why they're going to lose is because they're not as good at basketball. It's not going to be because the refs didn't do a good enough job rigging the games in their favor. Stop it with that loser mentality bullshit. No one's getting any smarter because of it. Everyone's getting dumber. And it's honestly just not based in any sort of evidential fact. All right. I'm off of my soapbox for today. Again, we're going to be back tonight with Colin Cowherd after the Pacers-Bucks game. We're going to break that game down as well as a bunch of other stuff from this weekend. The Thunder versus Pelicans game I'm going to break down on Monday morning with some film sessions for some other teams around the league. As always, I sincerely appreciate you guys for supporting the show. I will see you later tonight with Colin.